In 1984, a group of young academic enthusiasts registered a linguistic minority trust named Education India. It aimed to create institutions of excellence that would help build a social order based on justice and equity and forge comprehensive and ethically wholesome individuals. Women's College, Shillong, established on December 16, 1984, emerged from this vision. It has remained constant in providing quality education, striving to translate its maxim, Abhirabirma Edhi, meaning radiance unto all, into a tangible reality. Today, through its alumni, the college has institutional footprints spread all over the country and in the nations of South Asia. A third cycle of National Assessment and Accreditation Council re-accredited the institution, and it is today counted among the premier educational institutions in Meghalaya. Students from diverse social backgrounds cultivate and foster civic virtues and a spirit of cultural compassion, tolerance, and mutual recognition in an enabling and inclusive academic environment. The establishment of Skills Hub, with courses offering real-life applications, the creation of digital classrooms with remote interactive facilities, and a radio frequency tagged digital library aims to address the challenges of a rapidly transforming world and the changing terrain of knowledge. The institution's efforts complement the aspirational vision of the new educational policy and will help provide equitable access to quality education for all learners. We welcome you to join us on this journey.
Thank you so much. What an august gathering, right? A big round of applause, please, ladies and gentlemen, for these ladies and gentlemen that have gathered here today on this very, very auspicious, momentous occasion. I can't thank you enough for coming to our college and increasing the aura of this college by your presence here. Well, Meghalaya is celebrating this year the 50th year of its statehood. It's a great occasion, a glorious occasion indeed, that we have come a long way. 50 years now, so we are looking ahead today. We have come a long way, and we will be wishing to go even further ahead. So while we rejoice, celebrate this momentous occasion, that is the 50 years of our statehood, well, our panelists here have gathered to speak about what more can be done in the next 50 years as we travel, as we journey together to make this state of ours much more vibrant and much more dynamic. And one way of doing it, I think all of our panelists would agree, is entrepreneurship. That is the buzzword these days, because entrepreneurship is something that not only gives the self-employment, gives the person employment, but also gives plenty of employment opportunities to others as well. And this state is known for so much of resources. So much is there, actually, that can be taken up Just one example, tourism, right? I mean, we all know tourism, but along with tourism, there's so much more that can actually be developed also, and that can actually bring a lot of employment opportunities as well. Homestays, you call it resorts. Well, we also have such organic farming. We have beautiful flowers, these flowers, floriculture. We are talking about beekeeping, right? So, and fashion, textiles, right? Interestingly, we are also talking of coffee now, Meghalaya's coffee. So, towards achieving this goal of taking the state further ahead in the next 50 years, we from Women's College thought it's time to bring these very successful entrepreneurs in one platform, because they can motivate, they can guide, they can inspire so much and pave the way, give a new vision, a new direction, new ideas that I'm sure will come up today from this discussion. Once again, our esteemed panelist. Well, we have Mr. Jagdish Chelani, who is an IAS. He's the Executive Director, Meghalaya Basin Management Agency, or MBMA, which I read up, and it is a not-for-profit company incorporated under the Planning Department of the Government of Meghalaya, engaged in the implementation of specialized development projects focused on enhancement of natural resource management. And you're also in charge of PRIME, P-R-I-M-E, a comprehensive program launched once again by the state government, that is the government of Meghalaya, and it looks at entrepreneurship and enterprise promotion and incubation in a holistic manner. I'm sure you have so much more to tell us on this. There you have it, Mr. Chelani. Thank you so much for being with us. A warm round of applause for him, ladies and gentlemen. We also have with us a very successful entrepreneur, Larsing Ming Sawian, an entrepreneur, a football official, and also the Vice President of All India Football Association, AIFA. So much involvement. You have gone beyond our state now. You are playing a very active role in the neighboring state of Assam too. We have been to a restaurant there, and I'm sure that you have so much more to offer today in this panel discussion. Once again, warmly welcome you to this panel discussion of ours. Now, as soon as I have to take his name, I get excited. Why? Because we are talking of the Mark Stone Leitplang, or Mark Leitplang Stone. Because he's just not an entrepreneur, He is a CEO of Avenues, the Northeast India's pioneering life coaching and personal excellence training social enterprise. He will, I'm sure, floor you today by speaking so much on what the state really needs ahead in the next few years. A warm welcome to you, Mark Stone, to this panel discussion, and thank you very much indeed for partnering with Women's College in this program. Another great gentleman who's here with us is Mr. Jeevat Vaswani. Who doesn't know him? She is not only the Managing Director of Jiva Hospitality of India Limited, but all the beautification that you're seeing in and around Police Bazaar, Laitumkra, all the cleaning that is being done, the beautiful flowers that is by the team Jiva. You're doing an excellent job, sir. Cannot thank you enough for beautifying this beautiful city of ours, making it so much more pristine and green. Your effort is so much praiseworthy, and the fact that you have come here to this auditorium today, to our college today, thank you so much for giving us your time. Thank you, sir. And we have two beautiful ladies on the extreme, of my right. Iba Malai. Iba, of course, is a fashion designer of natural fabrics. I'm sure she'll be talking about natural fabrics of Meghalaya, and founder and creative director of Kiniho, right? Kiniho. We'll be knowing what is the meaning of that, Iba, a little while from now. Yes. Thank you once again, and welcome to this panel discussion. We are also being joined by Dasu Marlin Majau. She's the founder of Smoky Fall Tribe Coffee. Coffee, yes, we are talking about Meghalaya's first indigenous coffee brand, right? And as we have already announced before, she's also the recipient of the Chief Minister of Meghalaya's Entrepreneurship Recognition Award in the year 2019. Iba, lovely to have a coffee break with you here, and thank you so much. I'm sure, your coffee will make great waves. Once again, we will taste the flavor of that coffee in this conversation when we will be having with you right now. Thank you again for being with us. Last but not the least, of course, we have Flo Oberhofer. He is the program head of PRIME, PRIME, that is a promotion of incubation and market-driven enterprise. He happens to be from the country of Germany, presently here in the state of Meghalaya. Thank you very much, Flo, for coming to our college and in this panel discussion. Let me start this conversation by going to Mark. Mark, I can't help it but start with you firstly. You are an entrepreneur, but you're so much more than an entrepreneur, as I said. So, your opening comments in very brief words. What is the favorite part of being an entrepreneur for you?
The best part of the journey is learning on a personal level.
Yeah.
In life, if you're going to be walking down any path, whether it's a career, in services, or in public service, or perhaps even as an entrepreneur like us, there are three things that you need to learn to deal with. And I'll just take these three words and, we'll carry on with the rest of the program. The first is, of course, rejection. At any point in life, if you've been capacitated with some idea and somebody looks at you and says, that idea is total nonsense, that is the start of you making a choice to actually say, this means something to me. And you do not need someone's external validation to pick that up and say to yourself, I choose my own path. So for everyone who's here and anybody who's listening, the first thing is the word rejection, dealing with that and how you cope with it. The second is, of course, resistance. You may be rejected, then you decide to do it anyway, and then someone tells you, why should we do it your way? Why should we follow you and build your team and come into your team and work for you? And resistance is something we encounter not just at the beginning, but in the middle of our path, towards the fag end of our journeys as well, and how we embrace resistance from community, from your teams, as well as from the people who you look up to. And at some point it happens. Becomes a very pivotal part of how you take your journey forward. And the third, of course, is action. No matter what you do, if you have resistance or rejection, if you are able to anyways see it through with a concrete step of action, you choose anyway, I'm going to do this anyway. And you say to yourself that this is what I choose for my life. That is the beginning of all entrepreneurial thinking. When you have challenges against you, and while we talk about entrepreneurship, ladies and gentlemen who are listening as well, this is not just for entrepreneurs. I mean, there can only be so many job providers in the world, but what provides those jobs is not really the leader or the boss or the organization. It's the team that keeps that going. So the capacity of your teams, the capacity of the people you work with, the learning, like I said, is what I take from this journey, is what you have to imbibe into your team's spirits when they move forward in the direction of entrepreneurship. Just on a closing note, I'd love to see in the next 50 years, one awesome brand, at least one, that has stood the test of time in Meghalaya, that employs at least 1,000 people, and that is taking the state forward in terms of well-being and economic well-being. That would be my personal dream for the next 50 years. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for your opening comments. Thank you. Now, I bring the lady in, of course, coffee. I mean, I'm intrigued by it, really. I haven't really tasted, unfortunately, which I'm sure I will. How did coffee happen? Where is it being grown, Iba? Tell us a little bit. Everybody here in this gathering, in this hall today would like to know.
I was introduced to coffee by my late grandmother. We belong to a village, Jirna, in southern slopes of Cherrapunji. And there we have coffee plants, growing as fences in the village. So when I was young, my late grandmother used to take me to the village every year. So every Christmas we used to go and spend our Christmas time in our village. So I was always being, amazed by this plan that we have. And because during December is a time where the coffee cherry, the harvest coffee cherries in the village. But then again, when I was young, I didn't know much about coffee and the variety that we have here and the coffee that we have in our, in Shillong in the form of Nescafe. So while growing up, I learned that the same coffee that we have here, which is Arabica and Robusta, is the same variety that, Nescafe and Cafe Coffee, they are roasting and brewing coffee. So that was how I have grown to love my own coffee from the village. And then 12 years back when I started, it was quite I was telling Iba as well. It was that time back then. It was very lonely because I was alone, like starting this coffee journey. And thankfully, having people who encourage, that was very important. At first, when I started, I believed in the product in itself. Then I believe in what I wanted to do about coffee. So I started working with my uncles and some farmers, coffee farmers from my own village, Tirna, and neighboring villages. So when we go to neighboring villages as well, we learn that the coffee that has been growing there is more than 150 years. There was a book also by B.C. Basu, written by B.C. Basu in 1905, on the coffee plantation in the Khasi Hills. So coffee happened way back then, more than 100 years in Meghalaya. Till the 1950s, the people in our village, they used to have coffee. Till the 1950s. They roast, they pan roast it in traditional, those iron tower, and they have coffee. Then again, tea happened, so they shifted to tea. And then what happened is that then people start, cultivating. They don't cultivate coffee anymore. They use coffee plant as fences and beautifying and decorating their houses with it. Then when I went back to my village, so I encourage and give them awareness about the importance of coffee. Of course, the coffee that we grow there, it's Robusta. The Indian population, they like most Arabica coffee. So thankfully now we have good quality coffee beans from Boroto, from Jainti Hills. We have from Nongrinyang, Nongstoin, West Khasi Hills. We have from Amlarim. We have from Boroto. We have from Kong Thong. Hong Kong, Karashnong, what happened is that they always have this cloud burst. That is the main challenge that we always, every time we try to help them with nursery plantation and everything, the cloud bursts happen every monsoon. So that really,
hampers.
Have years. But actually they have a very good crop there, a good variety of coffee. And of course, we also procure coffee from Gara Hills. So when I started, I'm so thankful that I met the people from Coffee Board. They, helped me a lot 12 years ago. But again, they encouraged me to, when I started to do roasting, they told me that I should go for procuring coffee beans from Cook or Chikmagalur because Blue Tokai and other brands, they procure coffee from down south. The best coffee from India, and they roast the best coffee in India as well now. Blue Tokai, how I got associated with them because the father-in-law, the father of the owner of Blue Tokai, he visited our place and we know them. So they encouraged me into processing and introduced me to processing of coffee and packaging coffee. But then when I started, since we already have our own coffee beans in Meghalaya, so I thought, why should I do? So even with the coffee board, they encouraged me to go down south. But I said, no, we have our coffee beans from Meghalaya. So that is how I started, we'll just do and roast our own coffee beans and procure our own coffee beans from Meghalaya and start doing our own roasting and packaging. Then back then I was working in SBI, then I resigned after that and I took a PMAGP loan and then started my own venture called Smoky Falls Tribe Coffee. And initially I started with a small coffee roaster of 1 kg. Then again after that I went into the full 5 kg roaster, which is a Propertone by the PMAGP scheme. And thankfully, because of that, my roast profile of coffee has, really like improved, and we could, cater to many, clients and customers all over the country as well. And one thing is that when I started back then, it was very difficult because I'm the first generation entrepreneur. We don't really have that much capital to start off with. So for me, loan was an option then. So I took it, and thankfully with the PMHP, with the subsidy that I got. So yes, I'm so thankful for that, and I could do what I'm doing now. Of course, I'm not really going very fast with it. We're going slow with coffee because we need time. Coffee takes 4 or 5 years to have, to grow, to harvest it.
Right.
So we are, yeah.
It's been quite a coffee journey for you.
Yes, it is.
Right?
It has
I mean,
been.
I didn't know all these, what you're saying. There is so much of coffee, and coffee, people were drinking it since 1905.
Yes.
Oh my, that
1850s.
yes, 18, yeah. This is something very, very, I think, something new that, and all over the state, they're using coffee as fences, you just said?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, and the fact that, you have been able to, get so much of information now, and I'm sure that as you're journeying along this coffee journey of yours, and then that the fact that you've put your foot down that, no, I will be marketing and selling the coffee grown here. Right? And that is a big thing that I think that is highly commendable, and I'm sure that you'll be able to further improve it, and when we will all have the Meghalaya grown coffee. We will be coming back to you in a little while from now. I come to the second lady with us, Iba. You're into, fashion, fashion designing, yeah? Of course, we all here in the state are very, very fashionable. I mean, any day we just have to go out and see how lovely our ladies look in their highly fashionable clothes, right? And they look so beautiful. You are choosing natural fabrics, you said. Can you tell us a little bit more of that?
Yes, so I started Kiniho, which the meaning of Kiniho, it means it's in Bhoi, extracted from Bhoi. It means these are the ones. Okay. And it's actually an expression in Bhoi as a way of saying by a person to someone who doesn't see what's already there in front of them.
Okay.
Yeah, I got with the name Kiniho because when I started Kiniho back in 2016, I didn't know that I would want to work with Eri silk. I knew that I want to work with something sustainable fabric. I have this mission in mind, in my heart, that I want to start something that doesn't benefit me alone, but also my own community weavers. I want to start a business that doesn't affect our environment and all those who are involved in it, because as you know, fashion and textile industry is the most poisonous industry. So I didn't want to deal with that. I love fashion. I have so much passion towards it, but then I don't want my fashion to affect the environment and all those who involve. So that's why I decided I need a natural fabric. I started with kalamkari fabric, which is a natural printing fabric down south. I started in Bangalore, so that was the reason I started with that. But then one fine day I realized, and also because of the constant calling of my mom, persuading me to come back home made me realize that what I've been looking for is already there in front of me. And also that's the meaning of Kiniho. Okay. And which was the reason I came back home in 2016 and started doing my research and work with my own community weavers in Ribhoi district in Umden. And the reason why I choose Eri silk is because it supports my mission. It's one of the most sustainable silk. It is also known as the peace silk or the non-violent silk because unlike other silk where they kill the silkworm, in Eri silk you don't have to kill the silkworm to obtain the fiber. So that's why it is called the most sustainable silk. That is my main reason why I chose Eri silk, and also I decided not to use chemical dyes because of the beautiful texture that we have. In Eri silk, you cannot spoil it with chemical dyes. And also, as you know, how chemical dyes impacts the people walking and also the environment. I choose to work with natural dye with the locally available ingredients within the state. Yes.
Right, okay. We'll be coming back to you again. So interesting, you know, that you have come back to your roots, you're giving jobs, and this is what entrepreneurship is all about, right? Not just for yourself, you do it for others. And yeah, that is what we will be stressing, because, you know, when we are talking about there not being any jobs, there's so much of job. When one is passionate about it, well, you make others also passionate towards the same cause. Well, I come back to Lar Singh Ming. Ming, where did this idea of your business, because you are almost developing an empire, can I use the word, I don't know. But then how did this, are you from the business family, but because simultaneously you're also into sports? How is that being managed? How did these two come together?
Yeah, so essentially I'm what you call a second generation entrepreneur. So my father, who of course started the business, was an architect by qualification. And he started off with venturing into a bit of design and construction in his earlier days, and then eventually he started off with the construction of Center Point and building of a hotel there. And I, of course, joined him very, very early into the business. I had just finished from college in Bangalore, so it's already 2 decades now. It does seem just like yesterday. So that's my basic initiation into business. And of course, as you've mentioned, essentially with the Centerpoint Group, we have diversified into various businesses. The core being hospitality. We've always been very, very passionate, and we are passionate about hospitality, so that's what I did primarily for the first few years of my life. So as of now, from a hospitality perspective, we have Centerpoint, we have Rikinjai, and a hotel down in Guwahati called the Guwahati Address, which you mentioned, and a cafe in Laimukra, and a bed and breakfast as well. Hopefully in the next few years, there are some more projects on the anvil. One is in Light Kinso, next to Tiruna. And hopefully we'll have that coming up within the next 18 to 20 months.
Yeah.
And perhaps some more hotels towards Umiam.
Right.
So that's as far as hospitality is concerned. Beyond that, we are also into construction. So we've just kind of diversified our portfolios, but the construction part is not so market driven, so I won't talk so much about it. Of course, we are hoping to get into real estate development also if the opportunity provides. And third of all is we've started a retail vertical.
Okay.
So we also into retailing, and we have a cluster of different retail enterprises as of now in Shillong. And the football journey, of course, is a passion. I came in very early, 21, I came back, was very convinced that I wanted to immerse myself into business before ever harboring any thoughts of going for further education. So the first project which I initiated was actually taking over of a heritage, kind of a dilapidated structure, which was an annex of the Tripura Castle, where I had spent a few years going to tuitions when Mrs. Moorhead used to live there. And we set that up with the Tripura family, and we restored that property, created some additional constructions, and perhaps created the first sort of boutique hotel in the state and perhaps in the region at that point of time. So that was, of course, way back in 2002, so it's about 2 decades from now. And yeah, so that is my story as far as hospitality is concerned. And of course, with football was a passion, as I mentioned. So I used to play football, and I came back and I said that along with whatever I do in terms of business, I must also follow some elements of my passion.
And Lajong it is.
So I got into taking over the club Lajong. I played a season as well, but I quickly realized that playing football and trying to do business are not going to work out.
Okay.
So I retired at the early age of 22 or 23.
Oh my, okay.
Yeah. Then of course spent a lot of my time in building the club, because that was a passion. It was also sort of CSR for us, that we should also contribute back to community. And that was one way in which we looked at it. And of course, football was a different journey. It went on to play the I-League and found the first ISL club in Northeast India, which we had started and of course exited. But Lajong is still very much part of our long-term agenda. And beyond that, of course, in between, more out of, I don't know how that happened, but yes, as you mentioned, I got into football administration as well. So somewhere around 2008-9, when I was 30, I was asked to start getting involved in football administration. So I became secretary of Meghalaya Football Association. That kind of led to, me becoming an executive member of the All India Football Federation. Of course, today I am vice president as of now. So, I mean, that's my second term as a vice president. So that is, of course, a bit of football administration. So that in a way kind of encapsulates my
You're making
journey.
it sound so ordinary and so humble. It is not. I mean, it's huge, let me tell you. And only people like you, who are so passionate about it, can make it sound so little when it is so big, right? Now we come to another very, very, a very talented person, very motivated, and that is Mr. Jeevat Vaswani. How does your any ordinary day look like, Mr. Vaswani?
Greetings to everyone here. I'm very humble and you have invited me here. It's very simple. It's just day starts and you just need to work out. You have to work. And I believe in whatever you do, you should do with love. So that's my motto. Whatever my people, my staff, my team, I just tell them, whatever you do, do with love. Otherwise, don't do anything. So I believe a little bit that whatever I am today is whatever passion in hospitality industry, I love my work. I'm an entrepreneur. We as a team, as a Jiva, we have come to this planet and every day I look to do something different. It's a day to day. We believe in step, just day at a time. Yeah.
We have seen you, pick up cleaning rivers along with Operation Cleanup Group, right?
Yes.
Cleaning up the rivers, the dirty, the golf course. So much of beautification going on. I'm seriously wondering, where does all that energy, the motivation, the drive, the passion come from? Because this is something which we need to pass on, to the youth.
Very right.
Yeah, right, because sometimes they get a little lagged behind because they don't have enough, maybe, the motivation, the inspiration, and here is a living inspiration, who does so much and yet has so much time also to do more things. Right, we'll come back to that, Mr. Vaswani, a little later. But then let me just bring in, our other panelist here, and that is Mr. Jagdish Chilani. As I have already said that you are the Executive Director of the Meghalaya Basin Management Agency, MBMA, which is a not-for-profit company incorporated under the Planning Department of the Government of Meghalaya and engaged in the implementation of specialized development projects focused in enhancement of natural resource management. Can you kindly tell us a little bit more of what is this MBMA under the aegis of the government of Meghalaya?
So MBMA is a Section 25 company that is established by the government. The idea behind setting up MBMA was that for all the initiatives that the government may want to take in future, we have the flexibility of engaging those. So MBMA started with a natural resource management idea, that we have the external aided projects under IFAD and World Bank by the name of LAMP, Megha LAMP and CLAMP, which started in terms of natural resource management. Now slowly and onwards, MBMA has expanded its work into entrepreneurship through the Prime program. We are working a lot on giving working capital support to farmers through our focus program. There are several other initiatives which are engaged with the central ministries and others. So that's the ambit that MBMA had started working on and reached to a point where we had 2 successful cohorts on E-Championship, the CME Championship challenges. And we are now working a lot with the Prime program within the MBMA as well.
Okay.
So I think
Right.
for the Prime, Flo would be the right person to elaborate
I
on
will be
much
speaking
further.
to him. So let me bring in Mr. Flo. You've been patiently waiting, Yeah? So, so let's talk about Prime. What is Prime all about? Because, I've gone through the website. It has so much in it. I mean, anybody here should just type www.prime.meghalaya.com and go into it. It is simply mind-boggling, the kind of skill enhancement, the kind of stuff that is there, that you're waiting for young budding entrepreneurs to actually come to you, and you are giving them all the help and the support. Tell us a little bit about Prime.
Yeah. More importantly, please follow us on Facebook and Instagram, Prime Meghalaya. Just making a little bit of advertisement while I can. So Prime, see, it's very simple. It looks complex, but in the end, it's very simple.
No, I didn't say it looks complex. It really looks very, very wholesome.
It is. So I think the general philosophy that we follow at Prime is whoever wants to become an entrepreneur, or whoever already is an entrepreneur but wants to grow as an entrepreneur, can come to us, and we'll try our best to support you. That is the general philosophy. And under this philosophy, we have a lot of programs and initiatives that we are running. So our core is obviously, as Jagadish already mentioned, the Chief Minister's E-Champion Challenge. So every year we select the top 50 best entrepreneurs of the state and incubate them under us. So what does incubation mean? We run them through a structured training. More importantly, they have a mentor, a sector-specific mentor, right? For example, for Kong Iba, if she would be under the top 50, advertisement, please next time join us. We will give her a mentor that has a lot of experience from the fashion background, and possibly will give her an entrepreneur as well, right? And apart from this, we have boot camps that equip the entrepreneurs with very general knowledge related to entrepreneurship, from finance to digital marketing to way across the board, right? And this is like a structured program, right? But then we have a lot of entrepreneurs walking into our hubs in Shillong and Tura that are just coming to us and telling us, we are doing this. How can you help us, right? So we try to get them into trainings. Okay. We try to connect them to funding, a very, very important point. I think this is where many eyes will be, lightening up. So we have some very interesting funding opportunities for entrepreneurs, specifically also for entrepreneurs in their initial stages. Okay. So we try to cover the whole spectrum of it, right? We also have a pre-incubation program for entrepreneurs who just come to us with an idea, because this is where it all starts, right? It all starts with an idea, and then this important step towards really executing. I'm an entrepreneur myself. I know that the most difficult step is not once you're in an advanced stage. It's this very first step of starting, going out, showing people what you want to do. And this is how we try to help the entrepreneurs. We run them through these programs, give them mentoring, give them motivation, and then help them along the way as well. Right. And we also have something for the academia, and I think this is something where we want to connect with you as well. So we also try to help the universities and colleges of the state to build up internal entrepreneurship development programs.
Right, fantastic. Our education structure, the system, is so syllabus-driven of learning the subjects which maybe the students are not really interested in, right? But they were forcing them down their throat, literally, that they need to this, because without this, they are not educated enough. But then at the end of the day, this is not giving them jobs. Skill is giving them jobs. Tell us through about the importance of skill.
Maushami, when you say skill is giving them jobs, I'm going to differ with you on that.
Okay.
It's the application of that skill that matters. Okay. And when you're looking at, if you're in college right now, for example, and you're building up your academic knowledge, to pass an exam, to pass a test, this is actually the sort of work that we do at Avenues. So I'm going to refer to our own model so that maybe it might help someone here. At the end of the day, wherever you choose to work and whatever line you choose to pursue, the one thing you are valued for most in your life is the ability to solve a problem. You're given a challenge, and your job, either on a team or in leadership, is to find out how to take that challenge, break it apart into its small little bits and pieces, figure out how to address that problem and turn it into a solution. And sometimes, if you're lucky, or rather if you are blessed with the opportunity, you will come up with a solution to a very social problem, a problem that everybody has. And that can turn into a beautiful business that ends up becoming very successful. Just for a note of inspiration, I want to talk about a very young boy who's recently hit the headlines from a state that's the sister state of ours, Sikkim. There's a guy called Riwaj Chetri. I don't know if you've heard of this name. He is one of the few men from our country who's made it to the Forbes 30 under 30 list. This is a very exclusive list. Now, it's not big news in terms of money. It's big news in terms of the region. His organization, and like you said, the most important step is floating the organization, starting it, getting your idea into place, is called Any Origins. If you look at it, and you look it up today, anyorigins.com, you'll see that they're actually doing what we've already always done, curating produce from across the region, curating handicraft, curating spices, fabrics, wear and apparel, and putting it up onto a website. But the smart thing here is he went ahead and incorporated the idea. Got a valuation. You know what a valuation is? It's when another investor says, your agency is worth so much money in the open market. And although it's a small amount of money, he's got a formal valuation of $2 million.
Wow.
And how does this happen? It doesn't mean he's got $2 million. It means he may have got $100,000 at the rate that will lead him to $2 million as the valuation. Now, just to be able to speak in this language, have you ever thought of this coming from the Northeast before? Investors, companies, a future trajectory. And at the end of the day, what is Riwaj showing us, and what are other entrepreneurs like Tasu and Eva showing us is the schooling system and colleges are not, forgive us, preparing you for the challenges of life. They're preparing you to pass an exam. They're preparing you to pass a board examination and to get your marks, and that is very important. There are some committed teachers in our community who will go above and beyond the call of duty. They'll step out of the curriculum and also give you skills for life. What are these skills? The way you think, the way you feel and how you process your emotions, the way you talk to other people and connect with them, and most importantly, how you turn a plan into action and then take that step forward. This is skilling. But these skills are not taught even in a skills program. They teach you how to maybe put a piece of wood together to create a frame, code a piece of program to handle a program, but they don't teach you how to turn that into an idea that has gravitas, that moves into a market where you can connect with people and take your idea forward.
Right.
So if you are looking to start off in life, remember the 5 critical skill sets apart from academics and skill building are: number 1, a mind for learning. The moment you see something, how do you learn that skill? So not what to learn, but how you learn. The second is how you communicate with other people and how you deal with other people. That's your passport to success in life. The third is your ability to take a problem and break it up and solve it. Thinking through a problem. The fourth, very important, that no one talks about, is you're in charge of your mental mind frame. You're in charge of your emotions. You cannot hold anybody else accountable for you reacting negatively to a situation. You're in charge of that. Whether you're in a job, you've gotten your first shouting and you want to run back home to mommy. Or whether you're an entrepreneur, you've had your first failure and you want to still keep moving forward. Your emotions are your capital in a very uncertain world, and how you manage them is your asset. The fifth, very important, is your ability to take a goal. Everyone talks about goal setting. You've heard of this? Tell me, goal setting, yes? Have you heard of the phrase goal setting? You know what goal setting is? It means, okay, I write this down and put it out there. But no one teaches you goal getting. You talk about goal setting, no one teaches you how to go and get it. That takes great courage and determination. So apart from what our teachers teach us, which we are very grateful for, that skill building, the capacity to apply these skills in real life, is what we actually call entrepreneurial thinking.
Absolutely.
This is at the heart of all entrepreneurship.
Right, the mindset. I mean, that is what we need to inculcate, right? Yes. That, jobs are hard to get by. The mindset has to change now, that, you have to make your own job.
And as quickly as possible, I think the Indian government and the new education policy
exactly.
is a real beacon of light in that respect,
Right.
because you're now incorporating many elements that were previously unspoken of and are preparing people for life, not just for degrees.
Yeah. Eva and Dasu, I come back to you because, being women, of course, our guest of honor was saying, we are in a matrilineal society. The women are all over being seen as little entrepreneurs, big entrepreneurs like you, struggling entrepreneurs too. What are some of the challenges you faced, really, when you were on this journey? Because your challenge would also speak about the general challenges that is there existent in the state, which needs to be focused, with renewed vigor, maybe, to ease out those challenges. Some of them, if you both can mention us.
Yeah, I do had a few challenges way back then. But then again, of course, one of the things that I would really bring it to light is being a woman. And in our society, we have which is a fact. In fact, in our state, we have so many single women, single mothers running their business, a small business around. I don't know, Sir Chilani is here, but I don't know. See, as a woman entrepreneur, as someone who would like to seek help and funding from the bank or from any other organization, first thing first is a guarantor, and always it's a male guarantor that you always ask. Okay. I would like to keep this to Sir as well, because these are the things, the criteria that the government has.
You can speak,
has
let your heart out.
Last
the
time
right
we had
person is there to maybe, look into it.
We had the discussion with some of the, our society, our community that we work with, and one thing about them, one thing about being a woman, in this business, banks still ask for the male, the husband's PAN card, the husband's being a guarantor, which will be, it's a bit difficult, I would say, in today's society,
not
especially.
Not everyone is married, right?
Not everyone is married, and sadly, in our state, in fact, we have many single mothers who run the business, and it's very difficult for them to procure loans, to procure anything the help that they want.
Okay.
Because of, when you go to a Government of India website, they'll always ask, for all these things, the details of the husbands, the details of the, mostly husbands. And that is one setback, I feel, because last time when we had a meeting with among women, we discussed on this, these are the issues, small issues, of course, but it really, sometimes, especially a woman who wants to grow her business, for her to take a step, then the one thing that is there.
It can demotivate you or despirit you too.
Yes, that is there.
Exactly.
Yes, and for me, yes, I had my own challenges as well, being, of course, a woman entrepreneur as well. For me, my challenge, I wouldn't say being a woman entrepreneur, but for me, back then, it was people, when I came up with the product, they couldn't believe, they couldn't, think that this will work out. But it was very important for me, as Mark said, it's your mind. For me, it was like I really believe in it, in the product that I put forward. Then it's been many years for me that I've been working with coffee and making it grow, of course, slowly growing, and having people, the support that we had, long time back. Yes, now we could venture to some other things as well, like spices and food processing, and of course running a resort. I'm so thankful to be here with amongst Baming and Sir Jivat. They are my inspiration. I always look up to them before, when we started, especially with Smoky Falls Resort. When that day, I really had because I run a resort in a place where it rains heavily. Sora, it rains. You know about Sora rain, but our area, it rains heavily than Sora because the clouds hasn't hit the plateau, so the clouds are heavy. So we have, strong, more rainfall, and so we had some issues with the rooms and all. So I cried. So then I said, then my family said, don't cry. You always, don't think too much about all these challenges that you have. You've done amazing work, because I took charge of the building of the whole structure, even arranging labors and buying, cement, everything. I had to do it on my own, alone. And I used to get back from my place of work around 9:30, 10 at night, traveling alone from Tirna to my place back home because I have my children to drop them to school every morning. It was a challenge. But then again, what my family, of course, that day we discussed, we should look for, the business like Jiva and Baming and all what they run. They are they have had their struggle way back. I think so. I believe that Baming will know the struggle that your family had way back, and Mr. Jivat also will know better about the challenges, especially dealing with the locals, how to get them to work with us, and then train them, to be, especially when hospitality is a big thing, and then we cannot just bring youths from Shillong to work with us there in Tirna. So we had to, recruit, locals from there, and then teach them about hospitality.
And
so
I
it's
think
a big
during the
challenge.
COVID situation, I think
it was very bad. It was very bad as well.
It hurt you more.
We handled that also. It was very, very tough.
No, but the fact that you've come out of these challenges and you've taken those challenges by its horns, literally, take the challenges. by its horns, and
Yes,
you're moving along.
yes.
That is the greatest
Yes.
spirit, I suppose.
Yeah.
And I think you have your mentors here who have also, I'm sure, gone through similar, and they
Yes.
haven't given up. I think one of the Mark and Ming and Jeevat would, I think, agree with me is the never to give up, never to
Yes.
die spirit, right? Because setbacks will happen, but then how you rise above your setbacks is what gets you going. Iba, any challenges for you quickly?
There were lots of challenges when I started back in 2016. I left my corporate job just like that, without any much saving to start my own business. But I was so I had enough of corporate job, and I didn't like what I was doing then. So I decided to quit, and I came back home with nothing. Actually, I started with nothing, so to say.
A very bold decision, I must say.
Yes,
right? Yeah?
yes. And I used to get a lot of question. I mean, people would say only rich people can start a brand, right? But then that didn't click in my mind, didn't stuck in my head. Actually, I just focused on what I wanted to do, and
Right, and here you are.
Yeah.
With a brand of your own.
Yes, yes. So there were lots of challenges all along the way, and also when pandemic hit us. Yes, it was very bad. But with the helps that I get from the government, I decided I will continue. I was on the verge to quit because it was that hard for me, and I didn't come from that kind of background that I can easily support myself. And then when we were in pandemic, I work with artisans. I work with the weavers whose livelihood income depends on weaving. So if I don't pay them, they don't have anything to eat. So yeah, so that was the problem I was facing back in during the pandemic time. It was quite difficult, but then and there was so many other kinds of hindrance that comes along my way, also in terms of market. Shillong, yes, it's a fashionable state, but they don't realize much about Rindia. Yes, they know Rindia as in shawls and mufflers, but not much as in Jainsam or clothing.
Right.
So
right.
yes, it was quite a challenge when I started, but then somehow with the exposure that I get, with the helps that I get from friends, and also with the supports that I get from the government and also from Prime, I am here.
Where you are today,
Yes.
right? And you'll
Thank
further
you.
grow, I'm sure. Quick word on, from the mentors, Jeevat and Larsing Ming, because they are, how to overcome quickly before I go to the, how to, improve the marketing aspect of entrepreneurship, because, we need to build entrepreneurship. So quickly to address what they have said, your own stories, just to, from your own, how did you have setbacks and yet you overcame those setbacks?
See, as you can say, there's a fish, you cannot make a fish climb a tree, right? And I was not good in academics. I was very bad. So Edmund School, I was studying in Edmund School, and they really told me to leave the school when I was in class 8. They literally folded their hands and said, please leave the school. So I went to Anthony's, and I got through to Anthony's. But I'd like to say something. Today Edmund School says, we didn't understand you. So that's what, as an entrepreneur, it's hard work. And persistence. You persist your work, you keep doing it, don't give up, you'll go through it. Sure, yeah.
So you really don't need a first division or a high, degree to become an entrepreneur,
You don't,
right?
yeah,
you need the drive.
You need the drive, you don't give up, keep doing.
Yeah, absolutely.
You persist, keep persisting, and
Right,
so you're
right.
good. That way it's very helpful, yeah.
Quick.
Can I just add one thing? I see, everyone knows about this fancy startup, Zomato, Uber, and everything. But in the end, and we celebrate them for getting billions and billions of dollars investment. But frankly, starting a startup here in Meghalaya is a whole different story. Because in all the metros, you just call, let's say, any delivery service, they pick up your products, right? Those ladies, they deal with basic things like how do you get your products out there? How can we increase the speed on Amazon, right? These are very basic things, right? All these big startups in the metros, they don't have to deal with, right? So you should not follow these people, you should follow these two, right? Because these are the real heroes, overcoming these kind of basic challenges.
Yeah.
It's crazy, I tell you. So these are rock stars, these are heroes, and just go to Tirna once. How one person managed to set up a resort there is something that still does not go into my mind.
Fantastic. I mean, what more would you need, Dasu? Look at the kind of words, inspirations
I'd like
that you're
to
getting.
relate to the second point. Of course, Iba mentioned about AIRI not finding too many recipients as far as the local market is concerned. So, you know, it's what is important is believing in your product and also knowing your target audience. These are two very, very important elements. So I would also share my story. Like when we started in Guwahati, you know, we actually set up a hotel in not the real commercial zone of Guwahati. It was a more offbeatish. Of course, now it's like quite happening. There's Hard Rock Cafe, there's KFCs have come in, everything is there. But when we did, there was nothing. It was a stretch of road where there were no hotels and it was more residential than commercial. But when we set up, we identified our target audience, number one. Number two, we created a product which we believed in. But we did not actually replicate the same kind of cuisine that we have in Shillong. We went for something totally new. So in that sense, it was a startup, though we were already 2 decades into hospitality. Initially, my managers were very worried because they were actual people who came into the restaurant, looked at the menu, and left. Because they didn't find the staple food that they're used to in that menu. But we persisted. Today, that persistence has paid off because, you know, in a certain way, we are regarded as one of the places to dine. So it's about being clear about your product and knowing who your target audience is. Yes. And there definitely is a target audience for AIRI. Right. So, you know.
The fact that people didn't understand much about the product is because, yes, I do create shawls and mufflers. But then Jainism was very new back then when I started, and also running fabric. There were no running fabric of India because I wanted to make clothing. And when I started creating my own textile running fabric to make clothing, it was something new back then, like when I started like 5 years ago. But then now they have got the message and they understand, like, you know, that you can also have India clothing.
Right,
Yes.
right. It takes time, I suppose, you know, because people have to know your product. And there also comes a question of marketing it, you know, because often people have products with them, but they are not being able to market it. Quickly, Mr. Chiladi, you would like to come into this. How can, you know, our local products that are there, let's take the bamboo, the cane, furnitures, etc. How can this marketing thing happen? Because there might be a person who is doing good thing right in the rural area somewhere in the corner, but he's not accessible to the market. He's not being able to reach out his produce, you know, his products, his final products as well as the raw materials. Anything you would like to speak on this?
Surely, I have. So regarding agri products, I can just mention that I've recently joined as MDS for the agriculture marketing board in Meghalaya. The first and the important things that we are looking at, especially regarding agri and other products, is the buyer-seller meets. So what we have is a very niche product. Most of these products are very niche in their nature of consumption and the nature of production itself. The idea for reaching out to the market was to bring the buyers here, give a proper conclave or presentation to them as to what we have to offer, and then let them have an MOU, put up an order for people to procure those materials from the producers that we have. For example, we took some entrepreneurs, including Kong Dasu, for our Dubai Expo with the net fee. So Shillong Bamboo had, so they are working in bamboo products. They have gotten orders from the Saudi Arabia Defense Ministry. So these are ways that we are now trying to establish some networks where we have people who are into buying niche products at least, and for people who are actually buying bulk products of agriculture related. So these are both things that we are also looking forward to. Moreover, now for the entrepreneurs that are already working with us, so first we are pretty open to everybody who wants to get in touch with us, or even get some consulting from the very concept seeding part of it, the ideation and everything. So now what we are trying to do is we are trying to create this kind of network. Once we have sufficient database directory for contacting these people out, then we will be also able to have an entrepreneurship expo kind of a event where we can actually showcase most of these products that are there by the entrepreneurs here. The idea is to support those who primarily are not able to reach the marketing part. For example, those entrepreneurs who have established themselves in hospitality industry in areas where it's more reachable. They are usually urban agglomerations where it's very visible. So our idea is to actually look out for places much in, for example, Garo Hills.
Okay.
I'm also director for Meghalaya Institute of Entrepreneurship, and one of the major products under it is the Remi fabric. So as Kongiba is also saying that Eri silk was not very popular here. Most of the caterpillars are actually from Rebhoi district, but the largest production of Eri is happening in Assam.
Okay.
That is something that entrepreneurs like Kongiba are now planning and doing a change towards. Similarly, Remi is a fabric that's the strongest silk fabric out there in the world. It was used even for ancient mummies. So that's something that was adopted in Garo Hills in 2016. We have had interaction with French ambassador on this. So these are people who are already into fashion industry and would like to procure a bulk of this material for the fashion industry there. So that's where we are pitching in. It's more case-to-case basis. Once we have a proper understanding of what requirement of the market is, what our production and our engagement with these entrepreneurs are, we then will have some kind of proper formal expo kind of thing for this.
Right. Okay. But then I think, Mark, I would like to bring you in. We have the raw materials. We have the people who want to engage themselves in entrepreneurship. Yet, there is some gap somewhere. What is that you would like to speak, and how do we address those lacunas, those gaps, and fill those in so that we really have, we have this Meghalaya's next 50 would be entrepreneurship driven. What would you like? Because, we have, as I said, so we have the resources with us, so many raw materials, we have the tourism sector, yet we are not seeing sufficient number of entrepreneurs coming up into this.
Okay, so I think you'll all agree we have to define what sufficient means. How many entrepreneurs is it sufficient to call sufficient? Because if everybody is an entrepreneur, then you just have one-man shows everywhere, one-woman shows everywhere. The point is, while the entrepreneurship mission has actually put a very stable ecosystem in place right now, the need now is for ideas to emerge. Okay. And for those ideas to then take seed and for them to then manifest into organizations. Not just small teams, but large teams. And for this, there are many partners in the ecosystem. When I say an ecosystem, it means a support system, for all of us. So how many is sufficient? And that's a question that I think policy and government will address for many years to come. My point is, at least in my own, humble understanding of the whole ecosystem is this, is if, for example, Iba, if you're producing that kind of silk and you are choosing to see yourself as a mass producer, then you're missing on the fact that you're a niche product. Yes. Which means you can have a brilliant idea, ladies and gentlemen here, anyone who's listening. But how you choose to tell the story of that product, how you choose to connect with the world through that product can define the value that people attach to it, So for example, when Ming and family set up the first boutique hotel in Shillong, us locals would say, wow, we want to be seen there, we want to eat there, we want to hang out there, because the perception was this is a special place. Rikinjai, the resort that Barming runs, is seen by the entire country as a testimony to even traditional architecture in the hills. I believe your fathers won an award for it. And because of these human stories, small little ideas can gain huge global traction and visibility. But once you've got that visibility, you've told the story. Now it's important for you to value your services in a niche way, so that you're not working from morning to night making small change for what's actually very special in the world. So I think what's holding most people back is, number one, that at the end of the day, it's fear. I'm scared of taking that first step because of that one big word, failure. And a lot of people out here, I'm sure there are many of you, who have thought of something but have questioned, what if I take this to my parents today and they say, forget it, this is not the time for you to do these things, focus on your studies, Baba, or just get your results through. What if you're a teacher and you want to quit that stable profession to start something in the tutorial space that no one thought of before? But you don't do it because of the way community will look at you then.
Right.
So all of this fear comes from, all of us worrying about how people think of us. So if you're an entrepreneur in the making, the first thing you have to let go of is that baggage, that fear that someone's going to judge me. Hey, they're going to judge you anyway. You put it up, you do it well, they'll judge you anyway. So letting go of that, Maushmi, this is a really good question you asked, is what's holding people back? What's sufficient in our economy? Sufficient is, I would say, 1:5. When I think an entrepreneur is successful in our state, is if someone can employ even one person under them, that one person has a family of 4 who's depending on that salary. So I call it, a 1:5 formula. One job creator can impact 5 other people who are in a family. So if you're stopping yourself because you're worried about how people will think of you, you're worried about failure, every single person sitting here and the many legends out there have all started with that same fear. But they're able to look beyond that fear and say, the one question you'll ask yourself is, and I love this, this is something I heard many years ago, is the things we will regret the most are the things we didn't try. And because you tried, Dasu, you have that first stone you put out there. And now if you take a look at those photos, you see waterfalls all around you. You see the clouds burst over your resort. And no matter what people say about the architecture, the other thing you've got to learn to do with fear is to set expectations. Not just for your own self, but for your teams. That this is going to be hard. For the customers who are coming in, this is a very difficult geography. Things are going to be tough. Be prepared for it. But also remember to not undervalue your ideas. Okay. Otherwise, you're going to be working in a similar 9 to 5, making very little money for something that's actually very special in the world.
Dasu.
Yeah, for coffee, people used to ask, like, when should I start exporting big amount of coffee? Like, people ask, every day they ask, are you exporting now? I always say, like, I don't export. We don't export because Meghalaya doesn't have that much. We don't have that much yield. So we have, we have our own niche market. We have our own customers, and when we, of course, send them overseas, we send them by India Post, by different delivery agency, but not, of course, by exporting to different countries. Hopefully, maybe one day we can achieve that. I don't know, maybe 10, 20 years later, which working together with Coffee Pot. But for me, I'm quite content with how the brand is right now and the customer profile that we have from outside the state and here in the state itself. So of course it's growing slow, but of course again it's growing. It's not, it's growing as a brand, in fact, and people, they start loving the way that we roast the coffee, the story that we tell. And over the years, now I've diversified myself, my work into many other things as well, going to resort and doing food processing. But I've been working with coffee for the past 6 to 8 years alone, sticking to it, and then from there, then I start, since the pandemic happened as well, so I start going to spices and food processing, and thankfully with the help, with the guidance from MIE, going to jackfruit processing and coming up with food products, so all these things that are there. So for me, when I started venturing into other things as well, it took years. You cannot just do one time now and then again you shift and do. You just have to be focused first, build it up, and then you can start focusing on other things.
Right, exactly. Okay. No, I just wanted to address a question to Mr. Flo because, she just mentioned about food processing. There are a lot of people involved. Jackfruit also, the processing, that is being applied a lot. That has been talked by our Chief Minister also, right? And then broomstick is there. When we are talking about bringing the rural, getting stuff from the rural areas, broomstick is there, and many other. But then, having said so, our young audience here and our young audience across who will be watching this program, what are some of the ideas that you can give them, the local products that are there, which can become, an idea, and then which they can build into an entrepreneurship? Because you are working in the field, right? So any new thing that they have not heard of that you would like to bring today?
See, there's a lot of things you can do here that, I give you some examples. For example, we all know cashew.
Cashew,
right?
Yes, yeah.
But did you know the apple of the cashew is a superfood? Right? It's a superfood, like all these other superfoods that are out there. But what happens? It gets thrown away. It just, they extract the cashew, it's lying there. And it's lying there in tons and tons in Garo Hills. Which is a good thing as well if you think about from a sustainable perspective, because it will fertilize the soil. But in the end, there's a huge opportunity. There's massive opportunities in bamboo, for example.
Tell me a little bit more, if I may add, because I was there in Garo Hills, and whenever I was there were lots of these cashew nuts, and we were told that you're not supposed to have that fruit because it is poisonous. You discard it immediately. All thought, I know. But what is it? What is it that it is a superfood, you said?
See, like in the end, what happens is all the nutrients that the cashew tree or shrub, whatever you want to call it, produces first goes in this apple, and only then it's fed into the cashew, right? So basically, there's a lot of power left in this cashew apple. So even if you dehydrate it, if you make chips out of it, right, and you can sweeten it. There's many things you can do. You can even flavor it with pineapple. You can do so many things with it. But in the end, the main issue is also with bamboo, also with many other topics. It's specifically also medicinal plants. Meghalaya has massive potential in medicinal aromatic plants, like orchids. There's orchids that sell 1 kg for 1.2 lakhs, right? Massive opportunities. But in the end, it takes a long time for you to get to the point where you understand how to process it, right? And for example, I'm pretty sure it took Dasu a long time to figure out these flavor profiles of the coffee. How long do I have to roast? What do I have to do, right? What species do I have to use, right? And I'm sure for Kongiba it's the same, right? In the end, to make this eri silk nice to touch, it requires a specific skill. Otherwise, it's a very rough thing, right? And dyeing is a whole other topic. So you have to put in a lot of effort. And for example, for these orchids, you need a permission or registration from the Plant Protection Authority, right? For the cashew apples, the cashew apples go bad immediately. You cannot transport them from Garo Hills to Shillong because they are very delicate fruit. So you need to really get your head into the topic. And once you do that, you have a massive opportunity. But it might take you a year or two with a lot of frustration, with a lot of times when you think, okay, the more I learn about this topic, the more complex it gets. I'm not getting smarter, I'm getting more stupid, right? But this is exactly what Mark was referring to, right? This rejection, these failures, right? This is what you have to go through. And once you get to this point, now we have this one entrepreneur from West Khasi Hills. It took him more than 2 years to get the registration to commercially produce orchids. 2 years.
2 years.
2 years, more than 2 years.
That can be very, very disheartening, right?
Exactly.
So don't you think these systems that are in place should be, hastened up, fastened up, so that, our young lot don't get frustrated because they want quick results in any case?
So this is where we try to come in. So for example, this registration in Plant Protection Authority can take up to 4 years. So we managed to help him at least to reduce it to 4 years. We have entrepreneurs in Riboy who are into food processing who don't have electricity. Now we're trying to help them, get transformers there. So this is where we can come in. I will never say, okay, we can solve any problem for you. That would be just blasphemy, right? But in the end, we can try. And from Prime side. And I hope, I'm speaking for you and as well, Jagadish, we don't expect you to be successful, right? This is the thing. It's all about expectations again, right? As an entrepreneur, there's always a component of failure. I'm an entrepreneur myself. I failed horribly, right? So there's always a component of failure, right? And you need to embrace that. And I think this is what distinguishes Prime from many other government programs. We also embrace this failure with you. We are there for you. We have had many entrepreneurs who come to us crying, right? So we are not showing the door. Instead, we are crying with them, right? So, and I think this is the core component when you talk about the opportunities here. You have to go through this phase of failure, and only then this magic will open, right? Just going into honey processing because 100 others are doing it will not make you a big enterprise. Like, because people will see you're doing honey and you're doing it reasonably well. They will also start, right? You're not going to be able to really succeed, right? So please go through this period of failure. Find people like us and all of these entrepreneurs that are sitting here. They are incredibly supportive of the ecosystem. They are very approachive. They can be approached, right? It's not like they are here and you are here. So please approach them, learn from them, and then these doors will open.
Right, because, if I may just, yes.
To actually tell us about the startup grants and scale-up loans. For people who are out there who are planning to initiate a business, you always can, contact Flo at Prime Hub. It's an open house. And if your idea is sustainable, it's something that we look forward to. Or even if you just want an opportunity to start, we have funding opportunities within Prime for scale-up grant and step-up loans up to 50 lakhs. So Flo will inform you, and then you can visit the website to understand more on how we in Meghalaya are trying to have the ecosystem on entrepreneurship much better than it used to be.
Just the concluding comments from each of our panelists. I start with you, Dasu, quickly, 30 seconds, really. What are the 3 mantras, therefore, from the failures and the success that you think, to give it to everybody to learn from and to take the entrepreneurship to the next level in the next 50 years?
For me, like my advice would be believe in yourself, believe in the product you're putting in, and always stand firm in what you're doing and put it forward. Because without you putting it forward, no one will know. That is one thing. And the team is there, Flo is there, Prime Hub is there. I'm thankful for being associated with Prime and MIE. So they have really helped me in many things and meeting people around the country. So I would advise that, if you want one help, visit the Prime office in Polo, and they would guide the young entrepreneurs here, and especially students from the college.
Right. Absolutely. Iba?
For me, the message that I want to pass on to the students is to, if you would like to become an entrepreneur, if you would like to work something on your own, start your own business, is to, as it helps me, I choose something that I'm in love with, like something that I love to do, something that I'm passionate about. Just believe on that. Focus on what you want to do and not what others has to think about what you do, and whether you will be successful or not. So just believe in yourself and love what you do.
Absolutely. And Mr. Chilani has already mentioned that they are there to help out, right, Mr. Chilani?
Yes, yes,
right?
yes.
Pami?
Yeah. So maybe my concluding remark would be talk more about the 50 years that we've spoken here. So I per se am a firm believer that Meghalaya by itself is an amazing product. We are lucky that we've chosen this land. It is an amazingly beautiful land, strategically located, and becoming more and more relevant with the times that are coming in. From a regional perspective, the Northeast, which is considered the backwaters of the country of sorts, is actually going to be the center of all. It's going to be really the center of the entire radius of economic activity in the entire continent. Right. And the reason I say that is because if you look at Guwahati, where the international airport is coming, it is actually going to be the most strategically, centrally located airport in the entire country, because within 3 hours, we will be having 90% of the world's biggest metros, which are Asia's metros, from Guwahati Airport. Because the axis of world economy is shifting to India, has shifted to China, and then to the ASEAN. So as much as we talk about the Look East policy, which is extremely important from a national perspective, the one that really is going to bring in immediate dividends for the northeastern region is the Look West policy. Because we are in a country of 1.3 billion people, where 50% of this population is below the age of 25, and 65 to 70% of this population is below the age of 35. We have an IS officer here who perhaps can be termed a millennial of sorts. So that's where we're heading going forward. And, and this country is perhaps going to be third richest in GDP in another 7 to 10 years. So that is the opportunity. But what we need to understand is that most of this opportunity actually lies in how we preserve this beauty called Meghalaya. So nature, streams, urban planning, and ensuring that our rural areas are not decimated by unplanned, ruthless development is really, really what is going to take Meghalaya to the next level in the next 50 years. And the beauty of our current situation is that we, as people, tourism comes naturally to us. Hospitality comes naturally to us. And most of our lands are still organic vis-a-vis rest of the other states. So organic, pristine nature, and just natural beauty is going to be the mantra of the future. And that is something that no Elon Musk, no human being can ever create. So this is what we need to understand, and the entrepreneurs in us will emerge because there's no rocket science in the future of tourism, which is going to be homestays, small boutique properties, guest houses, cafes, restaurants, and local products, which are going to be in numerous quantity. But saving this land from further fertilization, promoting the organic culture is actually what is going to take Meghalaya forward and perhaps make us really, really strategically poised in the years to come. So I think a lot of the onus, as much as we create enterprise and promote entrepreneurs, is going to be in realizing this fact, and as society, as a community, as voters, and as a government, we all work in the same direction.
Right. Wonderfully said. Yes, Mr. Vaswani.
Yeah, I would agree with Baming, what he said, exactly. But looking forward 50 years ahead, Meghalaya, I would look forward for village tourism. Like, rural employment and all that. So if every village will have a tourism, some tourism village, you see. So there'll be a lot of employment generated there. And then in urban areas, we won't get a lot of people coming inside this side. So, and it'll be very good, it'll preserve the nature of the villages, because a lot of villages, they have no source of income. So they're going for stone quarrying, lime, anything. This is destroying the environment to earn the livelihood. So if tourism comes there in any way, like Kerala has this massage tourism or medical tourism, we can have village tourism. This village has got specialists in this. People can go, the village is preserved. So I look forward in coming 50 years that people in villages also have the bread and butter through tourism. That's all. Yeah,
and they need not come to the urban and Shillong.
And destroy the nature, because you see what happens, they're literally cutting trees for their livelihood, they're cutting, stone quarrying, everything on minerals, they're just selling it off. And once you sell off, it's gone.
Right.
Tourism, you can sell the same product 1,000 times and the nature will be there with you. Yeah, thank you.
Right. It's really spoken from your heart, right? And you work also from your heart, though. Mr. Flo, quickly, 30 seconds for you.
I'll just keep it very short. Like when looking to become an entrepreneur, please do one thing. Please look into your own culture. Look into your own heritage. Look into the wisdom that your tribes have come up with over thousands and thousands of years. And as much as I told you about this cashew apple and these medicinal plants, I know there's many more opportunities where, your forefathers, they knew about it, right? And they can now be turned into something that, that is very desirable for many people, be it like traditional healing, be it whatnot. There's so many wisdom that still needs to be unearthed. So please have a look into this when you look for new opportunities. And as an entrepreneur, the journey can often be very, very lonely. So find people around you that can support you, that can, be it like your classmates, be it at Prime, be it like some e-cells, whatever it is, to give you this kind of support to make it through these hard times that, we've all heard about today.
Yes. So Mark, finally, from you.
I just, when he said that word, lonely, for entrepreneurs. Hey, everyone sitting here, I don't know what background you come from. I don't know what your plans are. But I know that a majority will be doing something for the first time in your life. And perhaps your parents haven't done it before you. There are just three little thoughts. The first is this beautiful word called partnerships. Okay, there's a lot of people who think that entrepreneurship is a one-woman show, a one-man show. It's not. The partnerships are with your team. We talk a lot about our vision, our policies, our frameworks, but the biggest ecosystem around an entrepreneur is his or her team. If you are not in the market to build up the capacity of the people you're going to first hire, your very first employee, your second employee, your third, they are your captains, they are your leaders. They are the ones who will take that vision and then make it their vision, and you learn from them, and then you have a collective vision, partnerships with your team. Second is patience. You know, we're about to cross our 110,000th admission this month. 110,000 young adults. Half of that number came in the last 3 years. But for 17 years, we struggled and no one understands what we went through. Patience. Sometimes your idea is so powerful, nothing can stop it. Sometimes it needs some time. And if you are willing to put in the time, that patience will lead to the third thing, which is persistence. Don't give up. That's it.
Absolutely, can't agree with you more. You know, forging meaningful partnerships, patience, persistence. Because I think at the end of the day, entrepreneurship is not just a job. It is a sentiment. It is something that you believe in. It is a passion. It is a dream that you ultimately make it into a reality, right? Thank you so much, each one of you. Mr. Jagdish Chelani, thank you for giving us so much, you know, a mine of information, literally, to all our young people who are watching this program. Thank you so much, Mr. Larsing Ming Sawian, for coming to our college today and being a part of this discussion. Mr. Jeevat Vaswani, thank you so much, spoken from your heart. You are a man, you know, who wears his heart on his sleeves, literally, and you work it, and your work shows that. May you continue to do that kind of work. God bless you more and give more power to you, to each one of you, in fact. Yes, not to forget our dear ladies, Dasu Marilyn Majau, gone through it, you'll go through it, more to come, more to conquer and achieve. Thank you so much for coming to us, and Iba Malai as well. Thank you. And Flo Oberhofer, so wonderfully spoken, you know, from his heart again, inspiring us, all our young, beautiful students there. And last but not the least, Mark Lightplungstone. Thank you. And it's been a wonderful discussion. I'm sure each one of you enjoyed, learned so much out of it. When you go out of this door today, I'm sure that you're already, you are filled with ideas from this room. You're taking it back. Most of our students are 6 semester students. In about 3 months from now, they finish their studies. They are now independent. Entrepreneurship is for you. Thank you once again. Ladies and gentlemen, please give them a big round of applause. Thank you. Thank you.